Hi, EDCI 702 candidates, the Fayetteville crew. It's Dr. Palermo with your week 5 instructional video. Some comments about this week's readings, a shout out to Carrie Cobb and others of you who are participating so avidly in the discussion board prompts, and a reminder that I'm going to collect a formative version of your OA introduction or overview next week. Uh, so how's it going at school? We are coming up on week 5. You've had about a month to get back to school and hopefully establish a data team if you did not already have one, and begin meeting with that group, gathering the data that you need for the OA and CNA. At least that's all stuff that you should be doing in the first month of this program, and I hope that you have experienced success doing that. With the submission of your introduction or overview section of the OA next week, I'll be able to give you some feedback and see how it's coming so far. But I hope that it's going well so far. And I did want to shout out to Carrie Cobb, who had an excellent post from week 3, so I was grading it in week 4, about the distinction between the PESEL and the Primo F, and how the SWOT with strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats can be divided or thought of as the internal organization, and usually assessing that with strengths and weaknesses, and the external portions of your organization. How does the school fit in the community? And when you're analyzing that, those things will overlap, but as much as possible, if the strengths and weaknesses can be the internal analysis, and the opportunities and threats, the external analysis, the Primo and the PESEL do lend themselves toward that external analysis. I'm not saying it very well, but if you go back and read what Carrie wrote, she nailed it. She's got it right on. Good job, Carrie. So how's it going at school? I hope things are going well. I hope you'll write to me if things are not going well. Here's your APA tip for the week, something that I learned. You always have to have a page number if you do a direct quote. If you have it in quotation marks, make sure that you have the citation with the author and the page number. And if it's an article that doesn't have page numbers, then say what paragraph it is. So there's a good tip for your readings and citations. This week, the readings from your textbooks were Marsh and Willis chapters 5 and 6. I'm only going to touch on chapter 5 in here, but we'll do something in class when we meet again next time with a puzzle from chapter 6. And in Ellie Drago Severson's Leading Adult Learning, it's chapter 4, which is on the second pillar practice, providing leadership opportunities within the school. So I'll come back and say something about that in just a minute. But Marsh and Willis, as part of your organizational analysis, you should be thinking about, well, the culture of the school. And the culture of the school in the broadest sense, in my mind, is how we do things round here. How things get accomplished at your school. In particular, since we're thinking about curriculum and change models, chapter 5 in Marsh and Willis's is about curriculum development and change. How does change happen in your district? And it is too simplistic, really, to say the Common Core is our curriculum and we get it from Washington. That's not quite exactly the way it all happens. On page 169 in Willis chapter 5, for instance, there's a diffusion model. I don't know if you can see that. The diffusion model is what happened in Wake County oftentimes, where the central office would decide something. This is the way we're going to roll out the new science curriculum in grade 8. They would pull in folks from the regions. Maybe this would be done regionally, or maybe it would be done district-wide. And science chairs or representatives from the schools would go to the central office. The central office would give the information, the training that they wanted to those representatives from the schools. The representatives go back to the schools and then share that during a faculty meeting or training with their staff. called a diffusion model. So that's one way that change happens. It comes from the central office top down, and it's done in a diffusion model. Okay, so how does change really happen at your school? That's what the dialogue post here for week 5 is about. And I want you to reflect and roll this into your OA if you can. What is the process? How does stuff get changed? If you're going to change from, implement a new reading program in first grade, or if the science curriculum in grade 8 has been changed to, I don't know, eliminate Pluto, how does that information get from point A to point B? Is it possible that curriculum change is bubbling up from the ground, from the school, from teachers' classrooms to other classrooms within the school? How does change happen? And what are the principal discrepancies here between some of the models that are described in Chapter 5 and what you see happening in school? There's no wrong answer here. Please don't search for the right answer. It's, again, how is this? Use the stuff in the text, please, to comment about how change happens in your school. And oh, by the way, in 706, you're going to study one of the models that is mentioned in here, CBAM, C-B-A-M. Concerns-based adoption model is one of the innovation models that we will be exploring in great depth here. But there's some different good examples in this text. 165, I like this figure 5.3 about early adopters, early majority, late majority. Very often when change is happening, if we get the innovators and the early adopters on board, you get a critical mass of folks, you can make a change happen in school. So again, I hope you're starting to think about the process. Outside your classroom, how does change happen within a school? Shifting gears and thinking about Ellie Drago-Severson's and leading adult learners, how are leadership roles an opportunity within your school? What might you say about leadership roles? As a developmental practice, as a way to move a faculty forward, as a way to implement change in a school, what do you know about leadership roles and how they work within your school? I will tell you that as a principal at Lufkin Road Middle School, I started out as the guy who was going to give you all of the answers and be the all-knowing, omniscient principal who could lead change in all aspects. I'm smiling because I hope you understand the absurdity of that point of view. I was a much more effective principal when I shared leadership roles with others. In particular, we formed a leadership team that met weekly and tried to tackle many of the important daily management, weekly management of the school, things that I could decide, but much better decisions were made by having a wider team of folks decide how is field day going to work. That was something that was going to impact the whole school, but I didn't care what the schedule was for field day. The teachers were very involved and they wanted to have a field day in the spring, but they wanted to be in charge of deciding who went out to play the games when, and when they had water breaks, and how the parents came and helped. I didn't care, and the teachers were very involved in that type of leadership, providing leadership for that kind of activity. Anyway, I became a more effective principal when I could provide leadership opportunities to others. On page 122 and 23, why leadership roles are provided in schools, and then on 128 and 29, delivering presentations, leading faculty meetings, sharing ideas and learning, serving as principal for the day, leading peer reviews. Are these some of the kinds of things that maybe aren't happening at your school, but could help move your school forward developmentally if these leadership roles were provided for folks? So I hope, again, that the text will be a springboard for you to describe what is happening in your school and what could happen in the future. This week I cut down so that we have only 2 required dialogue posts, because you should be working on writing the overview portion That's the introduction, or the first section of your organizational analysis. Okay? Check out the rubric and see what the overview section is all about. But next week, in week 6, I will be asking you to load that OA overview for me to give you formative feedback. Right on. Write to me in the questions for instructor tab if you have questions. Write to me in my email if you want a quicker response. And have a great week. Thank you.